Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new episode of NASCAR Heat 3 Career Mode. Today we have Hayley Deegan's race in Chicagoland and my cup race in New Hampshire. So hopefully we can have some solid runs in these races. As you see how I sit in the playoff standings for the cup series, 2 playoff points, and doing much better than Hayley Deegan is for our truck team right now. But as we come to Chicago in the truck race for Hayley Deegan, she had a career best qualifying effort and immediately was able to get to the bottom line and showed speed in this race right off the bat as she closed up on the back of the 52 of Stuart Friesen, now on the inside of the 16 of Brett Moffitt as they came out of turn 2 down the back straightaway. She was showing a lot of speed through the corners in this track, and we were very confident she might be able to pull something off today. As she came a few laps later, she was making a move on the outside of Grant Enfinger in turns 3 and 4 to take the lead for the first time in her career, and once she took the lead, she did not look back. As you see her passing Grant Enfinger as we now come to the last lap in this race, as she has a commanding lead over second place of Johnny Sauter. Hayley Deegan with just over half a lap to go, trying to get her first Truck Series win after struggling throughout the beginning of the season. Obviously my fault not investing into the team enough, but we've invested enough now to where she just completely dominated this race. And as Hayley Deegan comes through turns 3 and 4 for the final time on the exit of turn 4, Hayley Deegan will get her first Truck Series win in Chicagoland. Finally, after quite a while, she earns that first win, and now she can go finally do her first burnout in her Truck Series career, and she was able to get a win before I could get my first win in the Cup Series. So hopefully maybe we can kind of counter back with that and maybe get a win today in New Hampshire. We're going to see what we can do with that, but as she burns the truck down, she is now locked into the playoffs finally. Probably going to be the last seed for the moment, but there's the finishing order. So she won stage 2 in the race, so we got 6 playoff points for her in this race. So everything's looking pretty good now, much better than it did coming into this race, as we were already in a must-win situation for her, and she was able to finally pull off the victory as she sits P13 in the standings. So certainly not great, but it doesn't matter at this point. We're a playoff lock, so she can just worry about going and getting more wins. But she might be able to go to Eldora and get a win. Obviously, she's got a lot of dirt experience, so I would be expecting her to maybe pull off a victory there as well. But now it's time to shift our focus to my cup race in New Hampshire. Coming into this track, I was actually kind of excited for this track. I've had some solid runs here in the past, and I was hoping maybe we can just pull something off here today in New Hampshire. As we take a look now at the Truck Series standings, you see Hayley Deegan's actually the 7th seed right now in the playoffs, so not bad at all. But if someone behind her that doesn't have a win yet wins, then we still might have a problem getting her into the playoffs. But now let's go to New Hampshire. We come straight to qualifying in my cup race or cup weekend now, and we made it to the 3rd round, and you see coming into turn 4 we're already sitting P1 for the first time. We made it to the last round, or second time actually in a row, and we set a 30.241 as our fastest lap. And I decided, we come through turns 1 and 2, and I didn't have the greatest center to exit of the corner. I thought I was going to hit the wall for a moment, so we just bailed out of the lap, and we did hit the wall, and we get the pole for the first time in our Cup Series career.
Today, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series makes its one and only stop at New Hampshire Motor Speedway for the running of the Foxwoods Resort Casino 301. Opened in 1990, this 1-mile oval racetrack is in Loudon, about an hour north of Boston. New Hampshire previously hosted 2 NASCAR Cup events, but lost its playoff race to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in 2018. So, these drivers only have one chance to make it count here. The green flag is in the air. Let's get ready to go racing on PRN.
Alright, we are ready to get going in New Hampshire, starting from the pole position for the first time in our Cup Series career. Obviously, we got quite a bit of speed in this car this time around, and we've blown some chances throughout this season to get victories, but today it's looking like we might have our strongest opportunity to get our first career win, as we are now green. The green flag is out and we are underway in New Hampshire with Kyle Busch in P3, starting behind me with the 88 of Alex Bowman in the Nationwide Camaro on our outside, leading the front row. And immediately we get hit by Kyle Busch into turns 1 in the back bumper, and we push up the track, but by the exit of turn 2, I get such a good run off the corner that I'm able to clear the 18 down the back straightaway as we approach turns 3 and 4 for the first time in this race. As we play it a little bit aggressive going into turn 3, I sent it in pretty deep, and it ends up paying off as we build a bit of a gap between myself and Kyle Busch. By the time we exit turn 4, obviously he's dropping back pretty quick as we hit 16 to go in stage 1, completing the first lap, as he sends it in pretty deep going into turns 1 and completely screws up his corner, and he's going to lose a position to, I believe that's Ryan Blaney behind me. So already building up almost a second gap between myself and second place as they start battling pretty hard behind me, and that pretty much allowed me to pull away pretty quickly throughout this first stage. So we just drove away and took advantage of Blaney and Kyle Busch battling as hard as they could, as we already gained a big gap of well over a second. By the time we come to lap 3, approaching lap 4, you see I got a little bit of damage on the right front of the car. I did hit the wall on the exit of turn 2, but it did not really affect the handling at all. So we're sitting in pretty good shape as we take lap 4 to start lap 4 now, as we come into turns 1, still increasing the gap between myself and second place of Ryan Blaney, as he was able to get ahead of Kyle Busch as we exit turn 2 down the back straightaway. And they started battling even harder behind me as we come to lap 11 in stage 1. You see the gap's even bigger, 7 seconds, because the guys behind me were battling so hard. Their cars right now were so evenly matched that they just could not get away from each other, and I just drove away. And I know later in this run, from practice, based off of how I did in practice, our pace compared to the AI in the long run really falls off to where we're going to have to be fighting. If we get a caution in the late run, then we're going to be in trouble, to say the least. But right now it doesn't look like we're going to get that caution, as we come to just a lap and a half to go in stage 1, approaching the white flag in stage 1, and we actually decided to back the pace down a bit. I had such a huge lead, I was like, you know what, let's save some tires here as we approach the white flag. You see Logano, he was able to close in by about a second on me, and it was a bit of a mix of me saving tires and him also just gaining a little more speed than me as we go longer into this run. But thankfully the stage is about to be over as we come down the back straightaway for the final time in stage 1 as we approach turns 3, passing all the billboards as we have a pretty solid entrance into the corner, looking for just a exit without any issues here as we come through down the front straightaway. We're going to get the stage victory in New Hampshire to add a playoff point to our name, as I think we got 3 playoff points now as Joey Logano hangs on to second, and it looks like Kevin Harvick will be your last place for stage points here in P10. And immediately you notice no one's pitting, so we're going to stay out, and hopefully me saving the tires towards the end of stage 1 is going to pay off in stage 2, because this is where it's going to get a little challenging to hold on to the lead as we are ready to go green. And the green flag is back out with Kyle Busch once again starting P3 behind me, but this time Joey Logano will restart on my outside as we approach turns 1 into the corner. Pretty safe right now as we do get pushed on the left side by the 18 of Kyle Busch. He just barely made contact with me, but once again, just like the last stage, we get a caution, and I'm not sure what happened, but just like the last stage, we cleared the 18 out of turn 2, but it doesn't matter at this point because we're about to go back to a restart as someone clearly wrecked behind us. But we're ready to go green once again as the green flag drops again. This time the 18 on my outside with the 78 of Truex right on my back bumper. Not a very good restart for me this time around as we go into turns 1, and the 78 is going to set it up the inside as we get loose, and he's going to push me up the track into the side of the 18 as we make contact, heavy contact with the 18 of Kyle Busch. And out of turn 2, Truex is going to clear me down the back straightaways. We managed to hold on to P2, but Truex, it looked like he got loose and just couldn't do anything except hit me. So I give him a little bit of a bump back into turns 3, letting him know I was not a huge fan of what he just did, and I'm pretty sure that he's probably just going to be able to drive away at this point, because I know it's going to be pretty hard to run him back down as we hit lap 5, almost closing in on 10 to go already in this stage, as William Byron in my bumper, or in my mirror, already approaching P3. I don't know how the heck he's running so good based off the car he is in. That car struggled so bad in real life this past season, and it was so sad to see. But we do close in on the back of the 78 of Truex, just about on his back bumper as we exit turn 4. Not a very good exit as he pulls away, and the longer this run went, it went exactly like I said it would. We would start to fall off as we come to lap 7. Just a few laps later in this run, Truex has stretched out the gap just a little bit, about half a second between himself and I as we come out of turn 2, closing the gap a little bit. Turns 1 and 2, or well, really the exit of turn 2 is my strong point. The AI can really send it in to turns 1 and close the gap, but as you can see, we do close up on Truex a little bit, but we just can't quite get to him, or maybe we just can't keep the pace with him as we come to now 2 to go in stage 2. Still about the same gap though between himself and I, as now P3 behind us, they were battling once again just like they were in stage 1. They were battling so hard behind us that they fell way back, and it's just me and Truex as we come to the end of the stage, approaching the white flag, and we finally get to his back bumper once again as we kind of briefly look to his outside through turns 3 and 4, but could not make a move happen as we come out of turn 4 to take the white flag in stage 1. Truex with a pretty solid gap between himself and I, a pretty safe gap to where I might not be able to quite get to him, as he has a very good entrance through turns 1 and 2, and we're going to have an amazing exit out of turn 2 if we want to get to him, and we hit the wall on the exit of turn 2, pushing it a little bit too hard, and that's going to completely ruin our chances at winning stage 2 as we come through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. As we exit turn 4, Martin Truex Jr. is going to hang on to the stage victory to add a playoff point to his name as we come up just a bit short to get second place in stage 2 with 9 points though, as third place Denny Hamlin crosses the line eventually way behind me, as the rest of the field is just so far back as Bowman gets the last stage point available, and this time everyone's pitting, so we're going to take 2 cans of fuel, and we're just a little bit short, but we should be able to make it eventually, as we also take 4 tires and repair the car and lose 1 position on pit road to Denny Hamlin, as we will be restarting now in P3 as we get ready to start the last stage in New Hampshire. And the green flag is back out behind the 78 of Truex. He does not have a very good restart as we give him a shove as we come down the front straightaway, approaching turn 1 to start this last stage as we enter the first corner, and we get a little bit loose and slide up into the 11 car and hit him in the left door, and hopefully he's not too mad about that. But now as we come into turn 2, we do regain second place, as I did not mean to hit the 11, but we just lost the back end as I went into turn 1 and I slid up the track right into him. I did not want to hit him at all, but as we come through turns 3 and 4, I know at the short run we're going to be able to probably run down the 78, because we're going to be faster than him for sure as we come out of turn 2 on lap 41 with a huge run on the exit of turn 2, and immediately I take my chances. I look to the inside of the 78 of Truex as we go into turns 3 side by side, and we're going to easily clear the 78, it looks like, as he tries to fight back for a moment but just can't hang with me as we exit turn 4, and we are once again leading in New Hampshire over second place of Martin Truex Jr. with just 34 laps to go as he sends it in way deep into turns 1 up the track. He goes almost into the wall, and he's going to lose the position to Kurt Busch now in the 41 Monster Energy Ford as we come into turn 2. And at this point in the run, I'm telling you, it was looking pretty good for me. Like, we might just be in the right position to get a victory finally for the first time in our Cup Series career as we come out of turn 4, already building a gap between myself and second place Kurt Busch, who battles with Martin Truex Jr. as we hit just 33 to go at the line. And for the rest of this run, we just managed the gap between myself and Kurt Busch, and we're just basically hoping that we don't get a caution at this point, because I know in the long run, like I said, that we're going to have a tough time as we come to lap 44 now, still leading this race in front of Kurt Busch. And at this point, the gap really hasn't grown very much at all, as he's kind of got out of the battle with Martin Truex Jr., so he's kind of on his own now, trying to run me down as he can finally be set free and run the way he needs to run around this track, and certainly not fast enough quite yet to keep up with me as we come to just 25 to go now on lap 51. A little bit loose going into turns 1, but I built up a pretty solid gap of extra 2 seconds between myself and himself and I, as we got it up to 3 seconds just about out now as we have just over 20 laps to go, trying to hang on to this victory. We're now easily good on field. Tires are looking pretty good, and I know within the next 10 or so laps they're going to really start to wear, but we should have enough of a gap by then to hold on. That's what I was hoping for anyways, as we now come to lap 53, still just a couple laps later, continuing to pull away from the 41 and the field, as the dominance has been continuing on. In stage 1 we dominated, stage 2 different story, but stage 3 we have just pulled away and dominated once again as we come to lap 57, about 5 laps later in this run, just hoping that we do not get a caution, because I know at this point the tires were starting to wear off, and there it is. The number one thing I didn't want to have happen was a caution, and we now have a caution, and this is certainly going to force me to probably have to really work hard to get this victory now as we get ready to go green. I'm hoping we still have just enough speed in the car to maybe pull away a little bit. But the green flag is back out. It will be 15 laps to go at the line with Kurt Busch along our outside and Martin Truex Jr. starting in P3 behind me as we go into turns 1 and 2, going a little bit wide as Kurt Busch gets really loose as we make a little bit of contact on his door, as now Clint Bowyer is all over my back bumper as we exit turn 2. Clear once again for the lead as Truex restarted 3rd and falls back to 4th, and really to me he was my strongest contender at this point in the race, so I was really happy to see him fall behind as we come through turns 3 and 4, and Clint Bowyer closes up just a tiny bit as we exit turn 4, and I'm noticing already the AI certainly is much more competitive versus how competitive they were against me earlier in this race, as Bowyer closes up on my bumper in turns 1 and 2. As we come through the exit of turn 2, he kind of falls back a bit as we have a really good exit in turn 2. We've had a really good exit through turn 2 throughout this whole race. As we come down the back straightaway into turns 3, certainly noticing though the speed drop off for our car is certainly becoming a factor as Bowyer continues to kind of close in a little bit as we cross the line to hit just 13 laps to go. As we come into turns 1, he can really send it in deep, and he's going to do just that as he approaches our back bumper. He looks to the inside, but we cut him off on the exit of the corner, not allowing him to make that move. But thankfully it does seem like we do have just enough speed in the car still to maybe pull away just a little bit as we now stretch out the gap between myself and Bowyer just a little bit as we exit turn 4 to hit 12 to go at the line. But now as we come to just 10 laps to go, the gap has pretty much stabilized. It hasn't really changed too much between myself and Bowyer, but it's certainly leaning towards the side of him closing in on me once again at this point as we exit turn 2, and behind, Eric Jones gets spun out by the 10 of Almirola, and that's going to bring out a caution as he just got completely dumped by the 10 car with 10 laps to go. And it's this caution right here that really makes me worried about winning this race now, because I know Clint Bowyer was closing the gap, and now it's pretty much a free-for-all at this point, as the restarts at this track have been pretty crazy as we get ready to go green with Clint Bowyer on our outside. Martin Truex Jr. once again in P3 with a chance to get around me as we get ready to go green. The green flag is back out with just under 10 laps to go in front of the 78 of Truex alongside the 14 of Clint Bowyer as we cross the line as we approach turns 1 once again, as Truex is going to hit me in the back bumper through turns 1, and around he goes in the 14 sideways, and Jimmy Johnson will move up to second, and immediately we get a caution as Truex for the second time in this race just sent it on my back bumper, and he nearly took me out as he goes around, and that completely takes him out of the picture of this race. These guys are certainly giving me a bit of a challenge here as they're trying to wreck me, I guess, as we get ready to go green once again with the 18 on my back bumper with just 4 laps to go. Once we cross the line, we have to hang on for the final 4 laps with Johnson on my outside. He already has the win. I'm not going to be scared to be a little bit aggressive as we get hit in the bumper, and now into the 48 we go as Kyle Busch clearly not holding back, trying to move me out of the way to steal the lead. But out of turn 2, we take a commanding lead down the back straightaway as we will be hitting just 3 laps to go this time by trying to hang on to get our first Cup Series win. And you can see I completely blow turns 3 as we do thankfully get a solid exit out of the corner to maintain a gap between myself and the 18 of Kyle Busch as we cross the line to hit 3 laps to go, as he closes up big time as I screwed up the entrance of turn 1. And at this point I'm just making silly mistakes that I can't be making as we have the 18 alongside me, but out of turn 2, we thankfully are able to clear him down the back straightaway, but this is the closest he has been all race to maybe be able to make a move as we come through turns 3 and 4 to hit 2 laps to go at the line. Certainly closing on me is Kyle Busch, but as we exit turn 4, just trying to really just run for my life as he's only 3/10 behind as we come into turns 1 and 2 as he goes almost into the back bumper of my car, but thankfully he misses as it looked like he was just going to send it and hit me, and hopefully I move out of the way as we get into the wall just about at a turn 2, and that's going to allow the 18 to close up on me down the back straightaway as we go into turns 3. Kyle Busch, a driver that's not been very happy with me throughout the season, is now the driver trying to beat me to the finish of this race as we exit turn 4. The white flag is in the air now as we cross the line for the final time. Can we get our first win? As we go into turns 1, I'm going very defensive as he sends it in once again, gets it on my right rear quarter panel for a brief moment, but as we exit turn 2, we put a big gap between myself and the 18 and Kyle Busch as we come down the back straightaway for the final time. As we approach turns 3 and 4, he's going to have to make a big move, and he's not able to do it as we get a perfect entrance through turns 3 and 4, a perfect center of the corner, and a perfect exit as we come out of turn 4, a little wide actually, but it doesn't matter. We will get our first Cup win in New Hampshire. It's been since Bristol of the Xfinity series of last season since I've heard that song, but now it is finally time to do a burnout for the first time in our Cup career in the first Data Camaro number 42. Could this be our last burnout in the 42 car? We know that Kyle Larson will be returning to this car next season, so hopefully we can maybe get another win. Hopefully we can go far in the playoffs. We're now guaranteed in the playoffs. Pretty much we were already good on points anyways to make the playoffs, but now it's a guaranteed for sure lock into the playoffs, and we're sitting pretty good. Hopefully we can get enough playoff points to maybe at least get into the round of 8 and hopefully do something with this team as we hit the wall on our burnout. You can see how used to doing burnouts I am in this game, as now we just burn it down a little bit more. I decided we got to just kind of make this burnout as long as I can. It took us how many races to get our first Cup win? I think we've done at least probably 20 races now in our Cup career, and we finally got win number 1 now as we come to pit road as we take the sharp right turn to head towards victory lane, as that would do it for this race. We finally got that first win, and it certainly didn't come without any drama at the end as we almost got completely wrecked by Truex, who comes home in P21 after sending it into turns 1 and hitting me in the bumper and just about taking me out, but instead took himself out, thankfully, as we held on Kyle Busch, held him back for the victory, which was really nice to do as we sit P4 in the regular season standings now, 8 playoff points, and we're going to get even more playoff points at the end of the regular season guaranteed with a top 10 in the regular season. So there is the beautiful trophy, our first trophy of our Cup career, as we get ready to climb out of the car and celebrate, as we have all the confetti flying, and there we are celebrating our win now. I certainly did not think New Hampshire was going to be the track that we got our first win at, as we've struggled here before, but we also ran good here before, so it was kind of a surprise to dominate, as I wanted to see how many laps we led. I believe we did lead the most laps, and we did lead 57 laps, so that's pretty good. I think we've led more laps in this race than we have all season for sure, as now we exit to the main menu, and we have a message from our mentor.
That win was incredible. Your first Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series win. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ray Evernham, and we have a lot of messages, a lot of video messages. As Logano, you are a big deal now. Hashtag Monster Energy Cup Series. Austin Dillon.
10 career wins. Congratulations.
All right, we got 10 career wins now.
10 wins. That's amazing.
10 career wins. Congratulations.
Thank you for the wise words, everybody. And there, hashtag Gary Owen is kind of a big deal. Thank you, thank you, Martin Truex Jr. and Corey LaJoy. Yeah, I think the last message, I'm not sure, but we compliment him. And we have William Byron as well, and we'll compliment him as well. We don't want any enemies right now, but we're very close to having multiple enemies, as you guys know, with Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, maybe even Clint Boyer. So we got to be careful with those guys. I don't want any rivals going into the playoffs. I've had that happen before in NASCAR Heat 2, and I regretted it. Or even in the Xfinity Series in NASCAR Heat 3, if you guys saw how that played out. That certainly took us out of a chance to win the championship, as there's Hayley Deegan's rivals, and then there's our reputation. Kyle Busch pretty much just one like door slam away from being a rival. But if you guys enjoyed this video, thank you for watching. But if you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe, comment, and like. Those would all be incredibly appreciated. There's the standings as we head towards the end of this episode. I would like to thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to watch one of my videos, and I will see you guys in the next episode for Pocono and I believe Kentucky for Hayley Deegan's truck race. So thank you for watching, everyone. I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a good day, everybody.